Okay. All right. Let's start with the handbook. I want to point out a few things that are in the handbook that you might have touched a little bit with your meeting from A&M. So I'm a little rusty at this, but we're going to actually. Okay. Can everybody see the screen? Everybody see it? Okay. For those of you that haven't done so yet, I need you to turn in your acknowledgement form, your handbook acknowledgement form, and your emergency contact form. These are both located in your handbook if you are not sure where they are. Okay, so let's take a look at, here's the acknowledgement form, the handbook acknowledgement form. And then the emergency form is located in the back. Let's talk a little bit about what you're going to be doing pretty much this week. You're going to be, not this week, whenever you guys start, Cecilia, you'll be doing this, is mainly observing. And the main thing you can do while you're observing in the classroom is learn the kids' names as quickly as you can. That will so work to your advantage. And you can do this by making a seating chart. It's kind of neat to start in the fall because your cooperating teacher is learning the kids' names the same time you are, and the rules are being set, and it's an awesome time to pick up a lot of tools as far as student teaching goes, laying the groundwork for the beginning of the year. So that is very, very helpful. Now, after you guys do what's called your full responsibility, which is 10 days, your first full responsibility, you have the opportunity to go into other classrooms and observe. And it's very important that you're able to do that. And there'll be some questions that will come your way for you to use while you are in those other classrooms, things that you need to pay attention to, but that'll come later. Okay, so then with assisting, be enthusiastic, take initiative, help the kids that need help one-on-one. A lot of the younger ones are just learning their routines. If your cooperating teacher asks you to grade papers, distribute, sharpen pencils, anything, be that go-to person as far as helping. One of the things I hear a lot is my clinical teacher doesn't take initiative. So don't hesitate to ask, see what you can do and help in any way that you can. Okay. Okay, teaming. Now, Sci-Fair, and I'm not sure about Climb, but Sci-Fair is huge with teaming. They're very, very good about doing all their lesson plans together. Everybody is basically teaching the same thing the same day. They have instructional specialists. They have discipline specialists that will come in and be supportive to you. The thing I want to warn you guys about is it's very, let's just say this, everything you say is heard by little ears and by grown-up ears, whether it be in the hallway, whether it be in a group meeting. And so there are sometimes situations where you will try to be sucked into, voicing your opinion on something, or what do you think about this? And it's not a good thing. It is in a negative way. So stand clear of any of that type of negativity, or you'll know it when you hear it. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. So just be very, very careful about that situation. Okay, we'll get back to lesson plans. We're going to have another meeting. Lesson plans is a whole new orientation meeting because they do tend to be a little bit overwhelming. But let's move down to full responsibility. Okay, once the semester gets started, what A&M likes you guys to do is have 2 5-day or 10-day groupings of full responsibility, one close to the beginning and one close to the end. Take your cooperating teacher's lead on this. If it's not exactly that the weeks that it falls in, or if it's, you know, days in or here or there, you guys need to work together as far as when you when a good time is for you guys to take on those 2 weeks, then have that gap, and then take on another 2 weeks. So for those of you, let's see, Aiko's not here. Kelly, who's got Kelly Robinson? She is
I do.
Okay, she's a teacher at Woodard, and last year she had a student teacher with me, so she's very familiar with the way that things are done. A&M does things a little bit differently than like Sam Houston or Texas State. They like you to stay with the same teacher the whole semester. So that can be good and bad, but for the most part, it works out really, really well. Okay, so when I come to see you guys, and we'll get to this more in a minute, I will come and see you 4 different times during the semester. And it will be a 45-minute block. I'll put it on the calendar. I have a Google calendar that everybody can see. And I will put it on that calendar because it'll look like you can, but you'll be the only one to see that it's there. So make sure that you go through me, and I will put it on there. The earlier you schedule your observations, the better, because there are 8 of you. And so your ideal times might get snatched up quickly. But it's nice because 3 of you are at Woodard, and 2 of her Salyards, and 2 at Berks. So we can work together, and I can come see you on the same day if you guys will get together and kind of plan that. That's very helpful. Okay, so there will be 2 times during the semester where I will conference with you, your cooperating teacher, and myself. This will be after the second observation and then at the end. And this is where your cooperating teacher will actually submit an evaluation of you online as to how you're doing. I will do the same, but that is the only time that she actually does anything in the computer, okay, except for those two times, and then a evaluation of me at the end. Okay. All right, let's look at attendance. These things always come up, and I'm sure they've already covered this in the meeting with you at A&M. But one thing that's new this year is that if you are going to miss part of a day, get prior approval for it. This doesn't mean you going home sick, but if for some reason you're going to be out part of the day, get prior approval.
Do we get approval from you or from the clinical teaching office?
Get it? No, not from, I don't think the clinical teaching office, they didn't say that, but you get it from your cooperating teacher and your principal that you're working with.
Okay, so if I have, like, I already know I have a doctor's appointment on September 8th. So do I talk to my cooperating teacher and my principal?
Yeah, perfect.
And then would it be excused because it's a doctor's appointment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be excused.
Okay.
So the way it works is they don't want any of you taking tests on those days. They are unexcused if you do. So for every unexcused absence, you make up 2 days. For every excused absence, you make up 1 day. And there's kind of this misconception that you have to have a doctor's note for every absence that you have if it's a medical. That's not the case. If you suffer with migraines, or you there's been so many different medical conditions that have come up. Of course, COVID, that was huge. But or if you have stomach flu, or you wake up and you've got a fever, you don't have to have a medical a doctor's note for it unless it's more than 3 days. Okay. So you guys, unfortunately, will, because you're going to be exposed to all these little ones, you might end up getting sick. You know, it just happens. You're building your immune system. So you guys actually, when you did your, what do they call it? When you observe and help, you were actually in the classroom this time, right? What do they call it? Help me.
They call it senior methods and junior methods.
Thank you, Anna. So there was a whole year of clinical teachers that never even went in the classroom before they actually went in the classroom. So you guys have had that advantage. But from my experience, there isn't a whole lot of actual teaching that goes on. So did any of you actually get any teaching experience doing that? Or did you do observing?
My teacher let me teach a lot. Like, I didn't come up with the lessons, but I would go to their team meetings and she would let me teach the next day, like a lesson or two.
Okay. What about the rest of y'all?
Yes. For junior methods, my teacher let me teach some lessons throughout the semester.
Okay, good. So you're not going in totally cold. Sometimes the first time I come to observe will be the first time that that clinical teacher has ever been up in front of the class teaching. So don't let that happen to you. Make sure that you get some experience before I come in that very first time, so you won't be so nervous. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at, I expect you guys to become very familiar with this book. It answers so many questions that come up during this semester, but I'd like to review some of the handouts that I sent you guys. So these you should have in your possession, but you can send me your lesson plans and your weekly schedule in one of two emails, whatever you prefer. If you need a reference, that's my address there. I live in Tomball. And let's talk a little bit about your clinical teaching notebook. Okay, this is also in your handbook, but when I come in to see you guys, what I'd like for you to do is have it set in a designated place for me. So I will come in, I'll look at your attendance log, I'll initial it. I'll be asking you to send me a schedule and teaching times for each week, which I'll also show you an example of. I want you to put your lesson plans in there. A&M also mentioned the importance of a journal. This is also in the handbook. It talks about, I like to call it the glows and grows. What went well, what didn't, what flustered you, a situation that came up in the classroom, how it was handled, because it's a good way for me to see you guys more in depth than just that 45-minute observation. And getting the guys to do it is really, really hard, but girls seem to like to do it. So, so just kind of journal for me in that way. And then any copies of observations, both formal and informal, will go in there as well. So your notebook will get pretty thick as the semester goes on. So get yourself a nice big thick one and start to put it together before school starts. Okay, like I said, we'll go back to lesson plans next week. Or no, I think I've got one planned for the week after next, after you guys start school. But you can look over, we will be using the lesson plan format that A&M uses for your formal lesson plans. And I will expect to have one before I come to observe you for each observation. But the lesson plan and all that that's in the handbook is pretty much going to be between you and your cooperating teacher as to how she wants to handle lesson planning with you. Okay, so we'll touch on more on that.
Miss Huff,
Uh-huh.
for the journal, I know in like previous classes we had to have like 7 journal entries or however many. Like, is there a certain amount of entries we need, or you just want us to journal like as things happen in the classroom?
I'm not very picky about it. Some people will journal once a week, and some people will journal every day. I've had a student that typed out everything too, and it was nice to read that, but I mean, that's not necessary. Some days you may not have anything, some days you might. So just try to keep up with it. You're not going to be graded on it, but mainly it helps you look back on where you've grown, because you guys will grow so much over the semester. And it helps me understand where you're at, where you're coming from. Okay.
Okay.
If
Thank you.
If you have any struggles, I like to address those if they come up in your journal. Give you feedback back on discipline. If you're struggling with your cooperating teacher in any way, shape, or form, please let me know. There's been situations where cooperating teachers showed up at 7 and they didn't leave until 7 at night, and you are only required to be there the same amount of time that the school day is any other teacher. Okay, so don't feel like that will wear you out. It really will if you're there for 12 hours. Okay. So when I come to observe you, the first one will be on or before September 16th. The second one, on or before October 7th. Third, on or before the 28th of October. And then there's this big gap, and I won't see you until December 2nd. Each of them have to be 45-minute blocks. And I don't want to come observe you giving a test. Or reviews sometimes work okay if you have interactions with kids, but I really would love to see a lesson, you building on a lesson of some sort, because the form that I use that is also in your handbook that I also sent to you, I'm going to be looking for specific things that are listed on that observation form. And I can't do that if I'm watching you give a test, okay? So once I observe, what I'll do is I'll sit down and we'll conference, and I take notes, take a lot of notes. But what I usually do is go into the portal within 24 hours, and then you'll get an email that says, "Hey, Ms. Huff's put this in the portal. Please respond to it." Okay, and we'll look at that form in just a minute. Then the midpoint and final are at the end of the second observation and at the end of the third. It's a different form. They look very, very similar to each other, but this is when your cooperating teacher gets involved. And so we'll sit down and have like a 3-way conference after the second observation and a 3-way conference after the fourth, and that's at the end. So it doesn't take very long. But it's a good way for us to sit and make sure we're all on the same page as far as how you're developing. Okay. Anybody have any questions up to this point? I know this is a lot of information.
Yes, I do.
What's that?
So, for each formal observation, will we have like the option to schedule it with you?
Oh,
Or
absolutely.
like the times?
It's your job. Thank you for bringing that up. I will never drop in on you cold. cold, like here I am, I'm here to observe you. I want you to plan it ahead of time. Let me know. Text is easiest, and then I'll look at my calendar and I'll say, yeah, that's a great day. And then what I will do is I will put it on the Google Calendar for everybody to see. Okay, that's the
Okay.
easiest way. Okay, so before I come and see you guys, there's this thing called pre-conference questions that you fill out, and this goes along with your lesson plan. So you're basically telling me what I need to be looking for by answering these questions. Okay, so that will come along with your lesson plan. And the closer we get to the first observation, the clearer this will become. Okay, so these are your pre-observation. You'll do these 4 different times before I come and observe you. This is the lesson plan overview, but we'll come back to that. Go ahead and read it if you haven't already. Okay, our pacing schedule. Everybody paces at a different time. There will be some teachers that will throw you in there right away. There will be other teachers that are kind of guarded and want to ease you in. Keep in mind, this is the beginning of the year, so those routines are getting established. That cooperating teacher wants to make sure that groundwork is laid at the very beginning. So just make sure you're doing everything you can to support her and to follow her lead. Okay. I know that sometimes cooperating teachers feel very equipped, like I can do this. I know I can help her more, but please just follow her lead. And if you prove to her that you can be helpful and ready and take initiative, then she'll be more likely to start letting you teach. This is a guideline that A&M puts out. So basically what you'll be doing the first week of school is just observing, learning kids' names, team teaching if you're asked to do that. Shadowing works best. You know, if she does it with one group of kids and you can do it with the next group of kids. You don't have to teach exactly like they do. You can be independent of what they do. So the week 2, you're going to start easing yourself in there. And then by the end of the 3rd week, or by the 3rd week, you should have been teaching enough that I can come observe you teach a lesson. The smaller grades, I should say younger grades, not the smaller grades, have more mini lessons involved. So those of you that are 1st and 2nd graders, you're not going to be teaching a full 45-minute block. You might have a little mini lesson and then maybe a read aloud, or maybe, something else that be woven into that 45-minute period. Any of the other class levels, like 4th, 7th, 6th, all you guys are lots of grade levels this semester. You can pretty much do, if you want to do a lab, do a pre-lab, lab, post-lab. If you want to do just a lot of different activities, then you can incorporate a lot of things into a 45-minute block. It doesn't have to be one long lesson. Okay, so this is your progression. And then the career fair this year does not count towards your 70 days. I think you probably learned that from A&M. In the past, it has, but they have allowed you guys to earn 5 days of your 70 days in staff development prior to school, which is really nice. It makes it a really nice cushion if you are able to do that. It is not required, but it is. It can be very, very helpful instead of just coming in the first day when the kids get there and not working with your cooperating teacher.
So for the career fair, does that just count as an excused absence then?
It doesn't even count as an absence. It just you'll draw a line.
You just put career fair.
Yeah, just draw a line. So, okay. Uh-huh.
I have a question.
Sure.
I've heard that attending career fair was mandatory because I don't know if what's her name? Miss Corn, Misty Corn was gonna talk about like the process of the certification exams, and that we were supposed to be there in order to follow that process. So I don't know if we're or
This is what we learned. So last semester, because there is such a teacher shortage, there were a lot of clinical teachers that were offered contracts before the end of the semester. I mean, they had a teaching job, ready to go. And there were a lot of questions like, well, why do I have to attend? I already have a job. So this year, what they've said is, yes, it is mandatory and it doesn't count as one of your 70 days, but they are going to have a certification meeting after the career fair. So that's what's in the works right now. So does that answer your question?
yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And with the teacher shortage, if you guys do a great job, hey, my Aggies get, y'all get scooped up because you're so well trained. That's why y'all make my job easy. Okay. All right. So let's look at this formal observation form. So when I come in to see you the 4 different times, this is the form that I will use. And these are the things that I'll be looking for. Okay. If your lesson plan form that you gave me, I'll be looking at the TEKS that are set up in that. I'll be looking at how you move around the classroom, just all these different things that are in here. Some of them are really hard to achieve, like at the beginning. Pacing is difficult. Asking higher order thinking questions is difficult. There's a lot of things that on this form that take practice and skill and a good 5 years to get at. So when I come to see you, basically you're going to start out with a lot of 2s and 3s. Don't be offended if you get a 2 because everybody is developing at the beginning. Okay. If you get an improvement needed, that means that we need to sit down and really talk about how I can help you. Let me give you an example. I had a student that taught science, and he was extremely unorganized. So when he started teaching, he couldn't find anything that, and at one point he even asked me if I knew where one of his papers was. So that is something that would really get you a 1 that says, hey, we really need to work on your organizational skills here, or if you're not clear in your delivery, if you're very scattered or stuff like that. But you know what? It's amazing. I had a student teacher who is teaching with some of y'all who, it gives me goosebumps to talk about her because she needed so much help. But at the end, oh my gosh, she was so dynamic because she took all the suggestions that were given to her and implemented them. And she was offered a job at the end of the semester. So you guys come from A&M being pretty thick-skinned and being very receptive to suggestions. So that's always helpful. Okay, so once I fill this out, it will go, I'll come home and I'll put it in the portal. You'll get an email that says, hey, Ms. Huff's filled this out. And then these are the questions you reflect on right here at the bottom. It can be short, sweet, check for grammatical errors because the principal will get this and they will be looking at it. So double check it And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be long. Just answer those 3 questions. Okay. Now, notice on this form, it says midpoint and final. This is the one that your cooperating teacher and myself will fill out after observation number 2 and after observation number 4. They will be identical. I'm going to just basically shadow what your cooperating teacher fills out, because these are things that I don't see throughout the semester. I don't know if you've attended staff development. I don't know if you dress professionally every day. I don't know if you act professionally every day. I don't know if you're, lead a mutual respective collaborative classroom, or if you get along with your teammates. So these are the things that we'll be talking about midpoint and final, and I will shadow. This is where the cooperating teacher will submit online, and they'll get an email. I have to usually remind them where to go and how to get there. So, and then you will respond to it. You'll have 2 of these, one from me, one from her, along with your observation. So those are easy to overlook, and I will remind you. Okay, so this form here is really good for your cooperating teacher to fill out. If she wants to give you feedback, or another teacher wants to give you feedback, or an assistant principal wants to walk through and do a little yes/no thing for you, these are very, very helpful. If you can have somebody do that before I ever come see you, it'll boost your confidence level, and it'll key you in to some things that you might need to work on. Okay. All right.
I have a question about that.
Uh-huh.
So could it be like a neighboring teacher? Could it be an assistant principal? Or could it be like anyone?
Yes, it can be a neighboring teacher. It can be an assistant principal. It can be the principal. It can be your cooperating teacher. Anybody that, it can be an instructional specialist. If you guys are in Sci-Fair, they like to come through. Keep in mind, you're probably being looked at as a future employee too, as well. So, but it's great to give you feedback, and they're always very, very nice. They're very, very helpful and very nice. So look these forms over, and because that's the things that they will be looking for. Some of these things, especially if you guys have worked with kids before, if you've worked in a daycare, if you worked in a camp, just taught gymnastics, taught swimming, or anything, that a lot of these things will come naturally to you, because you've been used to being around kids. You know what their behaviors are, and you know how to handle them. So do I have any of y'all that have worked with kids in the past like that? Don't be shy.
I have. Yes, ma'am. At a daycare. So
Okay. Anybody else? Camp?
I did Club Rewind for Sci-Fair a couple of summers ago.
Awesome. Okay. I had one a couple semesters ago that worked at an inner city after school program. And I was like, how did you learn to discipline these kids? And she said, oh, nobody else would, So she learned firsthand how to do it. So that was definitely a unique situation. That's probably one of the hardest things, is handling difficult students. And trust me, I've seen everything. It's not a bad reflection on you. It's a learning process. And some classrooms will have multiple special needs students. Some will act out while I'm there. I actually had a student come really close to throwing up on me one day. And the teacher, it was amazing. The clinical teacher gathered everybody up, moved everybody outside, and had class in the hallway, I had a swarm of bees come in during an observation. That was interesting. Fire alarms go off, electricity goes off, tornado warnings. So you just got to go with the flow and be flexible. And you'll learn that very quickly, that when you think you've got it all figured out, you don't. So it's just a matter of staying calm and going with the flow and showing great flexibility while you're doing it, because just as soon as you think everything is going to work out, it really doesn't. So that's just part of the teaching process. Okay. Any questions about that? We'll review.
I did have one question, or maybe two questions. Do we need to have copies of the formal observation printed out for you when you come, or is that all done online?
No, I will come with those forms and I will fill them out as I go. I've already got them all printed out, ready to go.
Okay.
And, so you don't have to print out anything for me.
Okay.
The only thing you will need is your student teaching notebook with your attendance log that I can initial, and any lesson plans or observations that you've already had, that kind of thing.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And your journal. Anything else? Anybody else?
Yes, I did. So for the attendance log, by you initialing, you would initial beside the initial of our cooperating teacher,
Oh,
or
let me show you. I'm glad you asked that question. Okay, so what I will do is say this one dates back to spring. I just didn't update it. But say I were to come in, January 13th to observe you. What I would do is an initial right over that date. Okay.
okay.
And
Okay,
then
thank you.
don't number a day that you're not there. I've had student teachers that have had to redo it. You know, that's okay. This can be kind of confusing at the beginning, but I think you guys have don't you have a Amy Aggie example that they've given you on how to fill it out?
Yeah.
That can be, that's helpful to follow that as well.
Is it okay if we could name like what days we went for PD, like PD?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And you guys know that you need to be with your cooperating teacher when you do those, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you can only earn up to 5 days prior. Okay. And the question has come up, well, if does that mean I don't have to go during professional development during the school year or the semester? If your cooperating teacher is not going to be there, you do not have to be there either. Okay. If she is going to be there, then you need to be there. But my experience with Sci-Fair is that you guys have so much staff development at the beginning that the teachers are able to comp those extra days, like the one in October and then the other one, I can't remember when it is. But Klein is in a really unique situation, is in that they have a whole week off in October for fall break. So that's one of the reasons why they started so early. So that'll be a nice for y'all. Okay, there's one more thing I want to cover. And let me go back to, okay, let's do this. This is in the back of your notebook, or handbook, I should say. So every week, and you guys, I'm not sure how many weeks you have, 11, 12. I want you to send me a weekly schedule and I want you to color code it. And I can send this to you in an email too, if it helps, on what you're doing. Like if you're, for example, this particular clinical teacher, this was the 5th week, and she color coded it in pink, and she was teaching all of 4th period, all of 5th period, and all of 7th period. And in those particular blocks, she was telling me what she was doing in just a real quick, 2 or 3 word description. Okay, so you'll be doing that for me, and color coding it every week. It can be at the end of the week, but honestly, it's easier to keep up with as you're going. And at the end of the week is easier because you're done, and then you can just send it to me, because things do change. Now, if you're like this super achiever, you can type it. But I don't, honestly, it doesn't matter to me. If it's easier for you to handwrite it, if it's easier for you to type it. This happens to be when this particular student was in full responsibility. So she was color coded everything and let me know what she was doing during that time. Okay. So this form is located in the back of your handbook. And we can talk more about this when we meet next time too. Okay, you have one little piece of homework for me, and that is when you start school, Cecilia, I know you've already started. What I'd like to see is your bell schedule. So that would be the schedule that you go by, your conference, what is being taught that particular time, and send that to me because it helps me coordinate with you guys as far as when I can see you and where I can travel between schools if I have time to get from point A to point B. Okay. So if you happen to know that, there's a few of you that I do need your handbook acknowledgement and your emergency contact form too. So if you would send that to me, that would be golden. Any questions about anything? I know it's a lot of information.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Sorry. So for the clinical teaching schedule, the one that you were talking about previously, is that gonna be like for every week, or is it gonna start like week 3, week 4, or is it gonna follow through all semester?
I actually like it from the very beginning. So for example, if week 1, all you're doing observing, just put observing, okay, all the way through. Or if you team taught, or if you taught a lesson all by yourself, let me know that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you can start that from the very first day. It helps me be a window into what's going on. If I look at it and go, oh, okay, we're in week 3 and Anna has not taught a single lesson, it's probably time to talk to the clinical teacher, not the clinical teacher, the cooperating teacher. There's just too many C's and T's. Yeah. Any other questions?
Can you remind me how many days that A&M requires us to have for professional development? Like,
actually, A&M doesn't require it. Those come from the individual school districts.
okay, I thought she said, I could have been wrong. I thought she said something about we have to go to like 3, 5, or however many professional developments throughout the year, but we just go whenever our teacher goes.
Yeah, but that your professional development through A&M might be something separate.
Oh, no. I'm talking about during like to complete clinical teaching. I thought she might have said there was something about like you have to attend 3 professional developments, but maybe I just misheard.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that, but usually they're built in to this.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I
Thank
think
you.
you're- I think you're safe.
Okay,
I think all
Thank you.
TEA says is 70 days, but it doesn't, I don't think it specifies professional development.
Yeah, Christina, I think she was talking about like how your district could have like PD meetings prior from school starting.
Mhm.
Like you could go to those.
Okay, just those 5 before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
They'll have staff trainings and stuff like that. And those are always helpful if you actually go to those too. That's like a feather in your cap if you attend those like faculty meetings and do everything that your cooperating teacher is doing. That is always very, very helpful. Okay, what else?
In the handbook where the weekly teaching schedule is, there's one that's called the semester projected schedule, and it's got like 16 rows. Do you know if we need to fill up that form out and what that would look like?
No, I'm not a big fan of a lot of those forms.
Okay.
So I just go with what is easy. And okay, I know you guys talk. You're going to talk to different, you know, uh, fellow students. So there are some supervisors that tend to make their student teachers do tons of paperwork. And that is involved with, you know, lesson planning, typing out lessons, all the detail, you know. And my personal opinion is that I'm going to follow the requirements that A&M uses as a guideline, but I am not going to make you go home every night and type out lesson plans. To me, it is more important for you to develop a relationship with those kids than to be doing a bunch of paperwork. Okay. That's just enough said. So you might hear from, you know, your fellow classmates that, hey, this supervisor is killing us. But they're basically doing what they have seen work best for them. And I do, like I said, year 10, I do what works best for me and works best for y'all. Okay. Unless y'all want to do more lesson plans. Okay. Because I know you did a lot of them already, right? So you should be pretty good at them. So just all that paperwork is just crazy. And for those of you that, well, I think Klein, as to Cecilia, you're my first Klein person, even though I'm a Klein graduate and my husband is a retired Klein High School principal. You are really at a great advantage because most of your lesson planning is already done for you in team planning. Okay.
Yeah.
So now it'd be a little different if you were out in Waller or if you're in Magnolia and you were all by yourself and trying to keep your head above water. But you are in great districts that provide a whole lot of help and support. So all that lesson planning is not necessary. Okay. All right.
Yes, I have a question. So, so for the is this seminar with university supervisor? What's the seminar? Like, what does that include?
Oh, you know, sometimes we get to them, sometimes we don't. Mainly with the supervisors, we all talked and we're going to try to get together and just put together some helpful things, interviewing tips, discipline tips. Those are just things like that. Those will come up. More than likely be recorded and you just guys have to watch them. they're just kind of extra things that we do.
Okay, so it doesn't involve us to do like to do sport.
No. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, when we have our second meeting, we've covered a lot of what we need to cover in a seminar. But it's nothing that's required. If there is something that comes up and I think it's worthy of y'all's attention, then I'll let you know about it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else? So has Sci-Fair started their professional development?
They started this Monday, but it was all district stuff, and then campus starts next Monday.
Okay. So is that when y'all are going to go?
Yes.
Okay. Like I said earlier, this tends to be early. So a lot of this really won't make sense until you actually get into the classroom and visit with your cooperating teacher. They have all these forms as well. So if you'll kind of sit down after the dust settles, after the first few days of school, and kind of map out a strategy, then that actually works best. And then there'll be a lot of questions that I can answer for you guys when they come up. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. If you have any questions at all, don't ever hesitate to call, text, or email me. I usually respond to texts faster. And I know after this meeting, I'll think of things that I didn't tell y'all. And if it's a whole lot, I'll send it in an email, but usually I'll just send text reminders to y'all. Okay. So let's plan on getting together. How about the 25th? If you'll put that down. And does 4:30 work for you guys? As far as your bell schedules go?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I don't know what our bell schedule is yet.
Homework.
Shelby, I think our school day is from 8:45 until 4:10.
Okay. So we'll shoot for 4:30. 4:30 has worked in the past. Some cooperating clinical teachers just stay at school, and because sometimes the cooperating teacher will have questions too at the same time and want to chime in. But we'll see, and we'll just stay with 4:30 right now. And if we have to change it, we will. So put down the 25th. And on that particular day, I'll be answering a lot of questions that have come up, and we'll be talking about lesson plans at that point. So in the meantime, when school starts, just send me your bell schedule and what is going on within those little blocks of time, and the weekly schedule at the end of that first week. Capiche? Okay. All right. Y'all have a great evening. And if you want to leave, you're welcome to. If you want to hang around and ask me any questions, I'd be happy to do that too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's nice
Thank
meeting
you.
y'all. Look forward to working with you guys.
Thank you, Ms. Webb.
I'm trying to figure out how to turn off record. How do I do
Have a
that?
great day.
You too. Bye-bye.